Hi, in my previous videos I have discussed even odd numbers, factors, prime numbers, factor rainbow, square numbers, cube numbers, and also different true squares, and also square roots, and surds. All those concepts are very important. In this video, I will discuss the next very important concept, usually the first topic in year 7, that is highest common factor. The highest common factor between two numbers, namely just the highest common factor, you can discover from using the factor rainbow. For example, what is the highest common factor, HCF, between 6 and 8? From the factor rainbow, you know 6 can be written as 1 times 6, 2 times 3. And from the factor rainbow of 8, you can see that 8 can be written as 1 times 8, 2 times 4. So that's it. Each of them has 4 factors. So what do they have in common? Of course, they always have one in common that we won't consider in this case, but they also have 2 in common. And 2 is the largest factor they have in common. Therefore, their highest common factor is 2. So HCF bracket 6, 8 equals 2. That is the answer to this question. How about the highest common factor between 8 and 15? So 8, we know we have 1, 2, 4, 8. How about 15? So 15 can be written as product of 1 times 15, 3 times 5. That's it. If you check the factor rainbow of the two numbers, you can see the highest common factor between 8 and 15 is just 1. So it is very interesting since 8 and 15 are both non-prime numbers. They are all non-prime numbers, but the highest common factor between them is 1. So this leads to a very interesting concept which is called co-prime. So co-prime means that the highest common factor between two numbers is 1. The two numbers can be both prime numbers or can be both non-prime numbers, but as long as the highest common factor is 1, then we can say they are co-prime. This is a very important concept, although it's very small. A lot of teachers, math teachers in the classroom won't teach you this concept, but they are very important. And this concept can help you all the way through A level, although it plays a very small role, but it's very useful and important. Okay, let's continue to see another question, which is the second question in the 2H, which means the second higher tier paper in today's GCSE exam. It is to find the highest common factor between 98 and 40. How can you find the highest common factor between two large numbers? First of all, you can construct the factor rainbow of 98 and 140 respectively. That's okay. That takes some time, maybe a decent 2 or 3 minutes, but you can just circle the highest common factor from the complete factor rainbow. So, but if you think, oh, can I use the divide and conquer method? Which means you turn this question into many small problems, each one is doable, then that's also a very practical method. So let me introduce you this divide and conquer, although I mentioned the first time in the series video of my GCSE revision 1 to 9, but it is very useful to every questions and from now on. From my previous video of divisibility, that we can see both 98 and 140 are even numbers. Do you remember what do even numbers have in common? What can we divide even numbers? So, they can all be divided by 2. Therefore, you can divide 2 to both 98 and 140 to see what are the results. 98 divided by 2 gives you 49, 140 divided by 2 equals 70. So, you need to be good at mental mathematics. So, in order to achieve 9 in GCSE, you need to be good in mental maths. Why is that? If your target is 7, I will say, yeah, it's better, but you don't have to. But if your target is 9, doing mental maths can help you a lot in having the correct answer in a shorter time, which I always told my students, time is not on your side. Therefore, we know 98 divided by 2 equals 49, 140 divided by 2 equals 70. And now let's take a look. 49 and 70, are they co-prime? Is their highest common factor 1? No, because 49 is 7 squared, and 70 is 7 times 10. Therefore, you can easily tell the highest common factor between them is 7. So 49 divided by 7 equals 7, and 70 divided by 7 equals 10. Now, is 7 and 10 co-prime? Yes, indeed, the highest common factor between 7 and 10 is 1. Therefore, we can say the common factor we found already, 2 and 7, are the only common factors between the two numbers. You multiply the two common factors, 2 and 7, which will give you the answer of the highest common factor between 98 and 140. So using this method I just introduced is a quicker method than using factoring rules. But this one has a condition. You need to be good in mental maths. Otherwise, you will spend longer time or you can easily make mistakes. So as I always told my students, every question will have more than one method to solve. You need to know at least 2 methods in order to solve all the questions. One method you feel comfortable with, another method you need to be familiar with. In the exam, one method you need to use to conquer the question, another method as a backup in case you forgot the first method or the first method takes too long to solve the problem. Also, the second method will help you to check you answered from another alternative way. In the exam, you will need 2 methods to verify your answers, so you end up leaving the exam hall knowing your results with a good estimation. I hope you have learned from this video and see you in the next. Bye.